It is not the descent towards the shadow nor the rise towards the light that makes us superior. It is the endless struggle between the two that greatness of character lies. We are tested and we do not break. We will never fall. Warhammer 40,000 was cooler when the Blood Angels had nipples. See, the Blood Angels are cool. Sanguinius was cool. Everybody's got their favorite Primarch, and your favorite Primarch might not be Sanguinius, but you can't deny that he's cool. He was tempted by corn. He said no. He fought the demon commander. He beat him. And then he held the eternity gate against the unending hordes of chaos. And he stood unmoving. And then he fought that demon commander again. And he beat him. And then the demon Primarch Angron challenged him. And Sanguinius defeated him. And was so injured and exhausted and could see his own fate. He knew what was going to happen to him, and yet he still went to the vengeful spirit to aid the emperor. And then he took one of the most epic beatdowns in the history of fiction, and he died so he could put that chink in the armor of Horus, helping the emperor finally defeat him in the final moments of the heresy. Sanguinius has one of the best story arcs in all of 40k. And then following him, his sons, the Blood Angels, continue to be cool because they have to live up to Sanguinius. They have to be as cool as he was. So not only are they awesome warriors, but they are philosophers and artists, and they try to be the best in all things as they constantly combat the darkness in themselves. And that's a struggle that can translate to us in our own lives. You know, we want to be so much, but can we overcome our demons? When I think of the Blood Angels, I think Baroque, Gothic, vampire, Space Marines. And all those things by themselves are cool, but you combine them together and you have an unbelievably cool chapter. And I've always been kind of interested in the Blood Angels, and I've always really liked what they had going on. I liked their sculpts, and as their individual models came out, everything was always way over the top. Everything always had blood drop shaped gems and chains and skulls, and the Death Company had the X's all over them, and the Sanguinary Guard, each one of them looks like they should. They looked like a golden angel, and everything was super beautiful, and that's what I think of when I think of the Blood Angels. I think that they are, if you want to paint Space Marines, if you just want to put an army on the table, you paint Ultramarines. But if you want to take the time to paint tons and tons of little details because you want your Space Marines to be super fancy, that's where the Blood Angels come in. And that's what I think of when I think of Blood Angels. I think very decorative, very ornate, very cool space vampires. Now, I've thought for a long time about having my own Blood Angels chapter. And I pushed away from that because my friend the Farseer is actually painting up some Blood Angels as we speak. He's very into it, so I don't need to be. But I had it in my mind forever what my Blood Angels would look like. And I can't tell you what the whole list would look like, but I know that I would want 10 Sanguinary Guard with Power Fists. And I would want the Sanguinary Guard with the banner, and I would want Dante. And then I would want 2 or 3 units of Death Company with all the gubbins and Thunderhammers in there too. Not everybody gets a Thunderhammer, but there are Thunderhammers. And then Astaroth the Grim, because that's just cool. He's just cool. And then after that, like a Ball Predator, and maybe some other Jump Marines. Who knows how I'd go with it. But those key Blood Angels units, the Sanguinary Guard and the Death Company, they were essential. They were what I wanted. So, of course, you could imagine my disappointment when I saw the announcement for the new Blood Angels box. And that's a box of intercessors. I'm waiting for the new Death Company, and they got me a box of intercessors, and they're like, "Oh, you could paint it like the Death Company," and I'm like, "That's not the Death Company. The Death Company that I'm used to are very unique sculpts, and they're full of their own ornamentation. They're their own thing, and they have a bunch of weapon options. But what I've been offered is a bunch of intercessors, that are going to be built like intercessors, and I can paint them like Death Company, you know. And I guess that's fine, but are you trying to pull a fast one on me? Am I not going to notice that this is a box of intercessors? And then really more intercessors like the intercessors you sell in every launch box you put out? I get more intercessors. I bet you every person who has a Space Marine army has some intercessors lying around. They come with everything. And then Brutalis Dreadnought. All right, that's cool, but that ain't a Death Company Dreadnought. The old Death Company Dreadnought was rad. And so you could say, oh, look, it's a Death Company Dreadnought, but it's not. These are just sprues you had laying around. And then the appeal of the box, of course, is these new models, the new Astaroth, the new Liam artist. We have to talk about him too. What's with the ball gag? You're a big $1 million corporation. I'm sure every decision that gets made goes through the course of a bunch of different meetings. You got to meet with the production people, you got to meet with the marketing people, and you got to meet with, whoever gets involved with this sort of thing. People had to talk about this. Not one of you people said, why is he wearing a ball gag? Not one of you. But anyway, the appeal of the box is, of course, the new characters. And why can't I get these in just a clamshell, get the new characters? Why does it got to be locked in a box of intercessors? Really? Really? And so there's opportunities missed here. First, you didn't give me new Death Company. Secondly, you're forcing new intercessors on me. And no, come on, really? No. Then another kick in the teeth is I see the new Sanguinary Guard. Not in units of 10, in units of 3. No power fist, but furthermore, dude, no wings. And so this takes me to a different point that I'll get to in a second, but you get certain expectations of certain things. Like if you're a Blood Angel player, there are things that you want, and this is not it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people find like it's fine, but I don't want to think about what it's fine because I've been around for a while. I'm fully aware of what came before, and I'm fully aware of how it could be. And don't let me forget the upgrade sprue. I know that the box comes with upgrade sprues, and then you'll be able to buy the Blood Angel upgrade sprue. But no, it's not good enough because first of all, how big's your army? How many times are you going to buy this sprue, and how many times are these pieces going to repeat over and over and over again? And secondly, Games Workshop, how much does this sprue cost? Seriously, I got to buy the units, I got to buy the intercessors that are just intercessors like any other intercessors I've ever seen, and then I have to buy another sprue on top of them. And it'd be different if you were charging $10 for that sprue, but you're not. You're Games Workshop, and I don't know what that sprue costs yet, but I bet you it's ridiculous. Why get rid of the wings? That's a weird question for me. You clearly know how to do wings. I've seen you do wings. Your Sigmar range is full of wings. We got no wings. And you may ask yourself, why do I care? I mean, I don't play Blood Angels, and if the Games Workshop owns it, they can do with it whatever they want to. Why do I care? And it's because I've seen what the Blood Angels are, and this isn't it. And when people are going to build their Blood Angels army, they're missing out. They're missing out on what was so cool about them and what made them so different. And instead, they're just going to be a pile of intercessors, just like all the other intercessors. And that's something I'm seeing all over 40K, where everybody's Space Marine armies are starting to look very much the same. It's just, these are my intercessors, yours are blue, mine are green. These are my Hellblasters, mine are yellow, yours are white. And I miss variety so much, and I miss unique chapter flavors. And I see this as just being lazy and uninspired and cheap. And that brings me to my final point. Who benefits? Who is this good for? Games Workshop is a publicly traded company. By the way, before I start talking this kind of junk, I'm not an educated man. I do not work in business. I do not work in marketing or advertising. And also, I've never had money my entire life. So take it with a grain of salt. But I live in America. And here in America, we have a lot of publicly traded companies. It's almost everything nowadays. And in these places, all of the money in the company is owed to the investors. I don't know how it works in England. I don't know anything about England. But here in America, investors will often sue the companies that they invest in when they think they're not getting their proper money, right? And so Games Workshop is publicly traded, and they have their investors. And Games Workshop's all of a sudden it's making a lot of money, and those investors are like, hey, look at this. And if you are part of that world, what you always want is more. If your game is money, if that's what you value, the only measure of your success is how you count your money. Money is the bottom line. And there's like more. And so if you need more and you're already making all this revenue off the sales, where do you get more from? Well, maybe you got to cut costs somewhere. And where do you cut costs at? Is it the design team? Is it maybe you take your most popular fraction and break down their units into, since everything is digitalized now, you break it down into something of a template. And then every few months you can print that template over again and maybe give it a new gun, or maybe give it a jump pack, or maybe give it a new pose, and put that out and call it a new model. But it's just the template over and over and over again. And maybe you're saving a lot of money that way, because how much does a good designer cost? I don't know. And maybe that philosophy you have there of using the template over and over is so successful that maybe you stretch it to another range. Maybe you have the new Sanguinary Guard coming out, and you already got these jump intercessors, so you just tweak it a little bit, and then you put that out. And I can't help but to feel, in everything Games Workshop does nowadays, I can't help but to feel the hand of the ruthless businessman doing ruthless businessman things. Have you ever looked up who owns Games Workshop? It's a bunch of investments firms, a bunch of money people padding their stock portfolios. It's no one who builds an army, paints an army, rolls dice. Their investment is money. Our investment is time and love and passion. Their investment is money, but they are the ones that Games Workshop wants to please. And so, of course, we have these big boxes full of intercessors. So you got to pay extra money to get your Astaroth and your Leomardus. And I hate it. And it's not just Games Workshop. I see it everywhere I go. Everywhere I go, it's the product is being made for as cheaply as possible. It's being sold to me by an overworked person at an understaffed establishment. And I'm going to pay as much money as they can possibly charge me for it. And Games Workshop is no different than any other company I see these things happening at. But it doesn't mean that I'm not just sick of it. And I want to love Games Workshop. I do. I want to love you. I want to give you my money, and I want you to be a strong company that protects the IP I love and doesn't sell it to Disney. But you don't do anything for the player base. You do everything for the investors. And that is why things like one-page rules exist, because people are so tired of being run over by the money man. They want new options. And I guess that brings me to the final point. If you're getting into Blood Angels right now, and you really want them to be what you think they are, which is ornate and super fancy Space Marines, you can get on Google and you can Google Blood Angels 3D print. And I did that, and I saw a bunch of groovy pictures of a bunch of groovy models. And I'm not going to put any of those pictures up on this video because Aspect Tactics did a 3D print video a while ago, and people in that community weren't cool with how that went down. And I don't know what those rules are, so I'm not going to put those pictures up. But if you're looking to build Blood Angels, they don't have to be just intercessors. You can find in the 3D printing universe really cool models. And there's a whole little sub-industry in there of designers and printers, and there are companies that just print and mail it to you. There's eBay stores. And, it's not like I want to be like, boycott Games Workshop. I'm not that guy, but Blood Angels should feel a certain way. And this release that I'm looking at right now, it doesn't feel like Blood Angels to me, and it certainly doesn't feel very cool.